check. Sure, microphones are on at the right time. We'll make certain double check everything.
You want us to test them right now? Is that what you're saying?
Just be aware. Just be aware of turning them on and which way is on and off. And we'll go from there. So, yes. So, all right. We'll go over all the rules here and we'll get going. All right. Very good.
All right, we are ready to roll with the Place 3 portion of our forum tonight. Thank you for joining us, Dustin Paschal, Timothy Soto, and Stephanie Elad.
It's actually a lot.
A lot.
Very good.
Apologies.
So, thank you, guys. Thank you. It's been a good night so far, and we're wrapping up with Place 3. And we're going to go over the rules here very quickly. Everybody will be giving opening statement of 1 minute. Your timekeeper over here is Anika. She's been doing a terrific job, but she will bring the cowbell on you if necessary. So on 1 minute responses, she'll give you a sign at 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and then a stop. Your closing statements will be 2 minutes. Once again, at a minute, 30 seconds, 15, and stop. And we are going to have 2 challenges that you can use. They have been getting used so far. It's been interesting. You want to go over those rules?
We do need to stick to the structure of the challenges. So the challenge is you get 30 seconds to challenge your opponent on something they've said, ask them a question. They will get to respond for 30 seconds, but it is not a debate style back and forth. Each person gets 2, so if you then wanted to challenge the challenge, by all means, if you have some left, you may do that.
And there will be no challenges during opening statements or closing statements. So, any questions on that format? Then let's go ahead and get into this. We're going to use a very technical system here for deciding the opening statements. We will draw a name, and then closing statements will go in reverse order.
All right, Stephanie, you're up first.
1 minute opening statements.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Stephanie Elad. I appreciate the opportunity to participate tonight. I was born and raised in Southern California and moved to Frisco 9 years ago. I was promoted in my job, and the job was here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We ended up selecting Frisco as our home when we relocated to North Texas due to my job promotion, and we selected Frisco because of the reputation of the schools. Everywhere we went, all we heard was that Frisco ISD was one of the best school systems, if not the best school system in North Texas. I'm a mom of 2 Frisco ISD students, a senior who'll be graduating in a couple weeks here, and also a 5th grader. And I've also been an HR professional for over 20 years. I've mostly worked for Fortune 100 companies, and I currently oversee talent management, talent development, and engagement for a national financial services company. I've also been a college professor at the university and community college level in my past. That was a while ago, but I did it for about 8 years. After receiving my master's degree, and taught public speaking and interpersonal communication.
Thank you very much. Next.
All right, next up we have Timothy. You have 1 minute.
Oh, that's right. I was waiting for the bell.
That's the stop talking bell, not start talking bell.
Hi, I'm Timothy Soto. I lived in Houston for a long time, and then I got married, and I have a beautiful wife and a almost 4-year-old, and my 2-year-old just had his birthday party Tuesday. And my 4-year-old, she's amazing. She likes to beat me up. If we had him first, we'd probably have 10 more, but we had her, so it was, no, thank you. I graduated from Oral Roberts University, and then I got my master's at the University of Houston. And we wanted to move to Frisco because of the high numbers and because it's so expensive to live here and we can't afford it. And so real quick to get in here, to get into Frisco, we actually used a picture of our kids in our letter of submission with our number, and they gave it to us. We actually moved into Coach Secord's old house. They moved out, and they gave it to us. Of course, we had to pay for it. But we are, it's just awesome to be here, and I came from Cypher ISD, and so I'm very familiar with big school systems, so.
Very good, thank you.
That's the bell.
All right, and Dustin, your opening statement.
Dustin Paschal. I grew up here in the Metroplex, just down the road in Garland, Texas, proud product of Garland schools. I went to Garland High School. Went on to Baylor undergrad and Baylor Law School. and I'm now an employment lawyer here in Frisco. Our firm is based here in Frisco. My wife and son and I moved to Frisco in 2018 for the schools, I'm really running at the end of the day because I want to protect our public schools. I think they're valuable. I think it's what made me who I am when I think back. I don't come from a background of advanced education. My father was a firefighter for 30 years. He didn't go to college. My mom went to junior college, was an office manager. They're both retired now. My mom just a couple weeks ago. But college was not a thing in our family. And I was the first to go to college and then on to law school, and now I own my own law firm. And I attribute that all to the education I got in the public schools in Garland, Texas. And so that's why I'm running. Thank you.
I'd like to open it up here. We'll just go in reverse order again. Each of you or candidates earlier in the night have mentioned Frisco ISD is one of the top districts in the state, if not all over. There's the number one reason that we see that companies are moving to town, people are moving to town. Mr. Pascal, and then we'll run down the road. Do you still believe that Frisco ISD is one of the top districts? And if not, can you name some specific reasons as to why not?
I absolutely believe Frisco ISD is still one of the top districts. I keep hearing from folks in this race and from others that we're a district in decline, and I could not disagree more. I was just at a school board meeting where we spent an hour and 40 minutes going through recognition of students, both academic decathlon, ACT scores, SAT scores, fine arts, recognition, sports recognition. We are absolutely one of the top districts in the state. We are a model for other districts, particularly even with the virtual education that we set up here in Frisco. Texas Education Commissioner Mike Morath himself pointed to Frisco ISD as a model of that for other districts. FISD continually serves as a model for our state. It is an excellent district, and I hope to keep it that way.
Mr. Soto, is Frisco ISD still one of the top? And if not, can you name some specific examples as to why not?
Oh, it definitely is. For a lot of the reasons that he's pointed out, it's all out there. It's no secret that that this ISD is fantastic. First, it starts at the top. Renee and John, the president, vice president of the board, they've had to deal with a lot that was trying to bring this district down, and they just continuously, I don't know where they got the energy from, but continuously fought to keep it strong and protected and provide funding and deal with legislation and say, whoa, fighting for the school district. No one knows that they're doing that no one sees it, they don't get paid for it. And that is just awe-inspiring, and I'm looking to help protect and provide funding for our students because, it is the jewel of Frisco, and we want to keep it that way.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Ms. Elad, same question for you.
Yes, so my family has been a Frisco ISD family for 9 years. And the first few years, it really was great, and we couldn't believe our luck. And then we started to notice some things over time, and I do think that there are some things in the district that are of concern and that need to be addressed, and that's part of why I'm running. It's actually one of the main reasons why I'm running is to address those things. There's a lot of great things in the district, but there's also some problems. We have a teacher turnover problem. We've had over 600 teachers left Frisco ISD last year, and that is a concern. We cannot continue to teach our students if we're not able to retain our teachers. I just learned about a week or two ago that we have one elementary school that will be losing 18 teachers this year. That is a crisis. That is a situation that needs to be addressed. We have to make sure that we're retaining and keeping our teachers here. And it has been said that this is a statewide problem and this is a national problem. That is true, but it's also an issue here in Frisco when we have teachers who are leaving for other neighboring districts such as Prosper, McKinney, Allen, et cetera.
So this is,
If I have a challenge, how are we handling that? I just go ahead and jump on in? Or
raise your hand, that's fine.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
there you go.
I actually have a follow-up there for Ms. Elad on that point. When I announced my official candidacy, part of that was understanding there was a teacher retention issue, so I met with Dr. Linton, the head of HR for Frisco ISD. And with teacher retention being a critical issue for your campaign, I think the top issue in your campaign My question to you is, did you also meet with Dr. Linton to find out what the district is doing related to teacher retention and to find out where there are holes, where there are achievements, and how that could be achieved? So did you meet with Dr. Linton?
I met with teachers. Because teachers are the ones who are leaving. And I've worked in HR for 20 years, and so I know what good HR looks like. I know what not so good HR looks like. And what the teachers were telling me was that they were leaving because of issues related to their work environment. And I asked them, do you get a chance to give feedback on your work environment? And they said, we're asked to fill out a Google Doc and put our comments on there. Other people can read them. They're not confidential. And so therefore, we don't fill it out. I have talked to probably 40 to 50 teachers, maybe more. They have reached out to me. They cry on the phone to me. I've had 2 kindergarten teachers tell me that they are leaving after one has only been in the district a year, and she said she will not be returning in the fall. And then there's another one who said, I've been here 3 years and I'm not returning in the fall because I don't get support. My planning time is infringed upon constantly, and there are behavior issues in the classroom that I'm not given support by administration to address. So that's what they're telling me.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we're trying to keep it to 30 seconds on the challenges, but that's good. Thank you.
Okay, so school finance and accountability standards have long been hot topics in school board elections. What is your view on local control versus state control on those issues and some specific areas? So not talking broad topics, but specific areas that you would like to see change. Mr. Pascal, we'll start with you.
Local versus state on accountability and assessments. I would like to see more local control there. I know Frisco ISD is working on the community-based accountability system. The idea is that that hopefully, much like the virtual learning, becomes a model for the state, and that the state looks at that and goes, you know what, that's the better route to do that. I serve on the FISD Legal and Legislative Committee, and particularly I'm on the Assessments and Accountability Subcommittee. And there's a lot of teachers on that committee, that subcommittee. And what they talk about is that while the assessments are needed, we've got to have assessments. The STAR assessment that we have right now is not great. It's a snapshot in time. It doesn't really measure what the students are learning. And more particularly problematic is the fact that it's used as an accountability measure for the district, and that's how we grade our schools, and it doesn't tell the whole true story of our schools. So I'd like to see more local control over assessments and accountability, and I think Frisco is leading the way in telling the state, here's how we can do that.
Thank you. Mr. Soto?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, so school finance and accountability standards have long been a hot topic in public education and school board elections. What is your view on local versus state control and some specific areas that you would like to see changed?
Well, the parents would riot if there wasn't a standard that was met, whatever the standard is. And we always go to the lowest common denominator because it's the easiest. And I like Frisco because it excels well beyond the state standards. You mentioned the STAR testing and how it's a snapshot. That's with every district across the state. The superintendent, Dr. Waltrip, was like, he spoke and he says, that's not good enough. We need to have our own internal standards, and it's going to be better. So then we're meeting the state minimum, requirements, but we're looking to expand and excel. All eyes are on Frisco across the state. I mean, the numbers are saying it. People can't even move here because it's so there's not enough space, and we're expanding so strongly and so fast, and that is we don't need state. To comply with the state when we're going so far beyond it, and internal accountability is already strong because the numbers show it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Alad?
Yes, I'm definitely a proponent for local control as much as possible. I come from California, and they call those unified school districts there. And when I moved to Texas, and I learned that we call them ISDs, or independent school districts here, I thought that was the greatest thing I'd ever heard. I was very excited. I think, though, that in Texas, the Texas Association of School Boards has a little more control in terms of the direction of our local school districts in Texas than I would like to see, and I would like to see the schools be more independent, the school districts, including Frisco, and focus on specifically what it is that we need here in Frisco, because that's very different than what is needed in El Paso or Austin or those kinds of things. And one of the examples of that I've talked about a few times is how Texas is one of the school districts who has not left the National Association of School Boards, even though 20 other states did, actually 23, including California was the most recent one, after they referred to parents who speak up at school board meetings as domestic terrorists. And I think Texas needs to lead in that area, stop taking direction from the federal government, and give the local school districts back complete control over their district.
Each of you have undoubtedly received different endorsements from different individuals and groups. One of the most visible ones, it came from the Dallas Morning News. Mr. Pascal, in this case, they gave their endorsement to you. And we're going to allow all three of you to respond. Mr. Pascal, why do you feel that they gave you their endorsement? And then we'll follow up with the two of you to see, is there anything that you feel that they missed? Mr. Pascal.
Yeah, I think the Dallas Morning News recognized that Frisco ISD and the Frisco community is an important area and a leader within the Metroplex, because the Dallas Morning News didn't endorse in every local school board race. And so I think they looked at that and said, at the end of the day, Frisco is an important one, and they recognized, if you read the endorsement, they talk about what Frisco's doing, how Frisco is excelling, how Frisco's driving the development within the city of Frisco, and they talk about the importance of that and the value of that. And so I think they saw value in endorsing in this race because of that, and particularly with how they went about doing that. We fill out an extensive questionnaire, very lengthy, and then we do an interview that all three of us were on the panel interview together with a couple of folks from the DMN. And so they did their due diligence, digging into detailed, specific answers and asking follow-up questions. And so I obviously think they made the right choice here, but I think they saw the value in telling Frisco citizens who they should be voting for in this race.
Change it up here a little bit, Ms. Allard. Anything that you feel that they may have missed, or why you feel maybe you should have received the endorsement?
I didn't expect to receive the Dallas Morning News endorsement, so I wasn't surprised. I think their political leanings kind of made their choice clear, and that's fine. I still participated in the forum because I wanted to get my message out. I also don't know if the Dallas Morning News really has a good grasp on what we deal with here in Frisco. I've been endorsed by several local organizations in Collin County and Denton County, and I'm prouder of that than I would have been to have the Dallas Morning News endorsement.
And Mr. Soto, your response to this question?
Yeah, I cannot think of why they wouldn't endorse me. I really can't think at all why they would endorse someone other than me. Hey, they choose how they choose, and that, good for them. They chose and they ran with it. Good for them.
All right, it is now the time where you get the chance to ask the questions. So the way that this works is you will have 30 seconds to verbalize your question, pick one opponent to ask the question to, and then they will have a minute to respond. So Mr. Soto, we'll start with you.
Okay.
So you get to ask a question. You have 30 seconds to say to which opponent.
Stephanie Elad. Hi. Do you have a plan in place, a tangible plan to provide for our teachers to have relief in the classroom and also to bring in more teachers that will actually stay? A tangible plan. A minute, go.
I guess I need my microphone. I do have a tangible plan. As I mentioned, I've worked in HR for quite a few years, and I actually oversee the engagement survey at my company, so I know what best practices are in terms of gathering teacher feedback. I do think we need to hire a third party, make sure it's totally confidential, because teachers don't feel that it is, and they're not giving the feedback. And we know that because they're leaving. So if they weren't leaving, we wouldn't really need to be worried about it. But I think we need to figure out what the top 3 reasons are that they're leaving, and a survey will do that. You want to not just ask the qualitative questions that people can, fill in, sentences, right? A paragraph maybe about what their concerns are, but you also want to ask questions like, on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to leave Frisco ISD in the next 2 years? That way you have a good quantitative sense of all the different concerns. Then what you do when you get those results back is you pick top 2 or 3 pain points for these teachers and you solve them. And you work with the administration and with the principals and with the leaders in the schools and you solve them. That is how you do that. That's how I do it in corporate America. I've done it for 20 years and we can do it here in Frisco ISD.
All right, Ms. Alad, your turn to ask a question to the opponent of your choice.
How do you know? Maybe I was going to ask you a question. You don't know. Actually, I will ask my question to Mr. Pascal. So you've mentioned as part of your platform that mental health support is a priority for you. What nationally ranked program that has proven successful in assisting with teen mental health would you bring to the district and why?
Are you saying what nationally ranked program is that you're saying? I'm not sure that I have a specific nationally ranked program. I think part of the job is coming in and evaluating and learning a little bit about it. But I think what we've got to talk to is the people that are in place and find out what they're seeing on the campuses, what they're seeing in the schools, and find out what kind of resources they need. I know I read an article recently that the state of Texas lags behind many other states in providing personnel in the schools for our children's mental health, and that has become problematic. We see that rising bullying and fights and things like that in the schools. And so there's definitely a problem with the state not providing the correct funding for that. And so I think what we've got to do is find out from the people we do have in place, hey, what do you need? What can we do to help? And then we go find out, does that involve going to the legislature and lobbying for further dollars for that? Does that involve hiring staff people here within the district? I know the district tries to do that already and hires people to fill some of the gaps there, but certainly more can be done.
All right, Mr. Pascal, your turn to ask a question.
I'm sorry, Mr. Soto. Ms. Lott again. I know that on your website you talk about wanting to be a trustee for all students in the district, but I've also heard the rhetoric that's against equity and against the hiring of the diversity, equity, and inclusion specialist, and particularly on a recent radio program, I heard you express that you were concerned that Frisco ISD was becoming an urban district. And I'm wondering how you speak to the students that in a district that is majority minority and tell them that you will be a voice for all students.
I think in our schools we need to get back to focusing on academics and not talking so much about race. At one of our high schools, last fall, they did a privilege walk, and this is where I think all this discussion about diversity, equity, and inclusion unfortunately gets us. I'll read a couple of the questions. If you have visible or invisible disabilities, take one step backwards. Why would we ask students to stand up in front of classmates and ask that? One of the questions was, if you are a white male, take a step backwards. This is where I think the focus on diversity, equity, inclusion has led us. I can't imagine if one of my children was standing in that classroom, was forced to stand up. My family's Jewish, and one of the questions is, if the school doesn't celebrate your holidays, take a step back. My children should not be told to take a step back because they're Jewish and because the school doesn't close for Hanukkah. I will not accept that. There's nothing wrong with supporting all students and making sure they feel welcome, and we should absolutely do that, but not based on this kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I know in the interest of time, we want to get to closing statements soon, but given some of the discussion that has been going on in this race and others, I'd like to ask, starting with Mr. Pascal first and Ms. Elad and Mr. Soto, politics seem to be becoming more and more the issue in what used to be local elections. What are your thoughts on what does that impact have? Is that good? Is that bad for local races, and why?
I absolutely think it's a bad thing. There's a reason that municipal elections are supposed to be nonpartisan elections because it's about what's best for the locality. If we're talking about a city, it's what's best for the city. If we're talking about a school district, it's what's best for that school district. And that may cross party lines. Sometimes it may be a more democratic principle that a district is pursuing. Sometimes it may be a more Republican principle that a district is pursuing. But at the end of the day, the principles they should be pursuing are what's best for the students in the district. And so when you start bringing in politics, what you start seeing is what we've seen at school board meetings where business can't get done, where the example that we're giving to our children in the district is a very poor example. And that's what you start seeing when you see politics come into play. And the focus is now no longer on, are we doing the best for our students? But that focus is on, are we doing what's best for our party? And that's never the right thing when it comes to schools.
Ms. Alod, your comments.
Sure. So I have folks of both political parties supporting my campaign, including as financial donors, volunteers, and all kinds of other things. So I think that, yes, the school board races are nonpartisan, and I'm looking to represent all students. One of the things that my supporters are most concerned about is the middle school pilot that has eliminated differentiated learning in the name of equity, actually, and inclusivity. And I've had, again, folks from all sides of the aisle. I have yet to find one person, whether a Republican or Democrat, who thinks that's a good idea in terms of the parents in our district. So I think those issues cross party lines and are really nonpartisan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Soto. Yes,
Could you repeat the question? Sorry.
More and more partisan politics are coming into local elections, it seems. Do you believe that is good or bad, and why?
For Texas, that is terrible. No, we do not need that in any school district in Texas. Definitely not in Frisco. You know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, we're looking to protect the school district, and you do that by clearly, you know, keeping out any partisan activity or influence. We get that at home. Our kids come home and they hear their parents, they hear us talking about that president, this president, that person. Oh, the governor passed this. He shouldn't have passed that. And we talk about property taxes, and we talk about all those things. Let's let the kids learn, because when they get out of high school, it's going to hit them like a brick wall. You know, when they get their first paycheck, they start learning, hey, which side of the fence they want to lean towards or anything. So we definitely need to keep it out. We already have so much that we're trying to teach them. We don't need that in there. So
Thank you.
All right, well, we could do this all night, but we promised a deadline. So Tony, I'm big on deadlines. We're gonna go to closing statements now, and we have a reminder, 2 minutes each, and we'll do it in reverse order of how we opened. So Mr. Pascal, you are up first.
Yeah, like I said at the beginning, the priority for me is public education and the 66,000 students that we have here in Frisco ISD. And I think a misnomer goes around sometimes about me because I'm so positive about our district, and I think our district is so excellent that I think our district is perfect and that we do no wrong. I don't believe I've ever said that, but I certainly don't believe our district is perfect. No organization is perfect. That's part of having an organization, and part of operating is you've got to find where you can grow, where you can innovate, where you can fix things. And I think that Frisco ISD does a good job of that. We are always on the leading edge when it comes to innovation. You know, particularly we talk about this pilot program. I'm not sure that I disagree at the end of the day whether or not this pilot program is good. I'm not sure I disagree with that. It's still a pilot program, though. We're still examining it, and I think it's too early right now to say whether or not it's something that's got to continue. But I applaud FISD for trying it. They may decide at the end of the day that didn't work, and we're going to go back to separating those. But part of education is innovation. And so I value that Frisco ISD does that. But like I said, I don't think we're perfect. We can always address the issues we have, but the problem is we have to address those issues with facts, and we have to address those issues looking at what we're actually dealing with. What is the problem we're facing, and how do we go about solving that? We can't deal with those issues if all we're doing is expressing rhetoric and seeing who can yell the loudest at the end of the day. We've got to focus on doing what's best for our students, and at the end of the day, that's my goal, is to focus on what's best for our students, what's best for our parents, and what's best for our teachers and staff. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Soto, 2 minutes.
I definitely have super interest in our school district and protecting it. My kids are going to grow into it, and they're going to be developed by the teachers that are in the school district and future teachers that are going to be there. And we want to protect our students. We just got to protect. No one else is protecting them. We have to protect them from all the outside elements. And I am looking to join the efforts, join forces with Renee and John, and represent the district to legislation. Like, we need more money for our schools. We need more money for our teachers. We need more money for tech. Wes and Tiffany, who run the FISD Plus, they need more money. They have some pretty good ideas. I've listened to them, and the innovation that is just ready to burst. We need funding to do that, and I am looking to also help balance our budget to make sure that we're not spending too much on renovation when we can help, Beth with the early education, our 3 and 4 year olds. We want to provide more money for that, and we definitely have to, sometimes you do have to yell loud, and you do have to get loud and fight with the Texas legislation and say, we need money. Look, this is the standard. Frisco is the standard, and treat us that way. If you're going to say we're the standard, then you need to go ahead and fund us. Put money where your mouth is and fund our schools so that we can continue to grow the way we're growing and be the standard for the rest of the districts to look at. All of the other districts, people don't know, all the other districts are on the edge of their seats. All the superintendents are looking at Mr. Waltrip, Dr. Waltrip, and saying, what are you guys going to do next? Because everything you guys do works. And so that's what we want to provide for the rest of them, and make a better community in doing so. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Salad?
Thank you. Last fall, my older daughter took a dual credit class at Collin College, and after the first test, several other dual credit students went up to the professor and asked when the retest was, and the professor looked at them and said, "This is not Frisco ISD." That was really tough for me to hear, I'll be honest. That was really hard for me to hear. And I'm here tonight as a parent who wants to ensure that our children are prepared for a life after Frisco ISD, whatever that path may be. Parents have entrusted this school district with the awesome task of educating our children. That's a really big deal. And the community counts on our school system to reflect the best of Frisco. This year, there are 8 candidates vying for 3 places on the school board. I think that's a statement. 600 teachers leaving last year, I think, is also a statement. 50 unfilled paraprofessional positions in the district is a statement. The dramatic rise in parent involvement and parent input is a statement. Parents and students expressing concern about the pilot program in 8 of our middle schools, eliminated differentiated learning, is a statement. And the involvement of our state representative to highlight an issue of obscene materials in our school libraries is a statement. And I think the statement is that our community, our parents, and our teachers need to be heard, and they're ready for change. I am the candidate who can bring solutions, and I have the experience to lead in this area. There is much to be proud of in Frisco ISD. I know, I've been in this district as a parent for 9 years. And my message is one of hope. Our students, our parents, our teachers, and our community members deserve that. But it is time to listen and take action, and I promise to do that. My experience as a parent and as an HR professional make me uniquely qualified to serve in this role. When you need someone to speak for you, I will gladly and proudly serve as your voice. If you're ready for change, please vote for Stephanie Alad in place 3.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for all 3 candidates in place 3, as well as all of our candidates in all 3 places. Just want to thank everybody. If you guys don't mind just staying put here, I just want to thank everybody for coming out. It's been a very interesting, lively evening, but want to thank everybody for being willing to step up and serve the Frisco ISD. That's the key measure of everything here. I want to thank my partner here as moderator as well.
Thank you.
So also want to thank our chamber team that's been busy and helping to put this thing on. Once again, this will be available for replay, so anybody here, spread the word. We wanted to get as many people out as possible. And I forgot to mention it early on, but a huge thank you, Grace Church Frisco here for providing this facility. Please thank them. It is always reliable, a great deal there, and especially a big round of applause for our timekeeper. Anika did a marvelous job there keeping everybody in line.
Well, we have some important dates to rattle
Yes,
off, don't you think?
we do.
Okay. So as a reminder, early voting for this election, April 25th through the 30th, and again on May 2nd and 3rd. Election day is May 7th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And Tony has a very